Hello, everybody. Welcome to One Piece Thursday Night Locals Round 4 from Illustrious Cards and Games. I'm Xeminan with the VOD commentary. So we are in Round 4 of the Locals. Usually we have about 4 or 5 rounds each Thursday evening for all the players, but this week it will be 5 because, spoilers, the third undefeated player going into round 4 did win his pair down, so we are going to have a 5th round after this one. It is a Lucci mirror match between Grant Brown and Daniel. Fun fact, Grant, my brother, playing my Lucci deck as I'm testing out some other stuff. I'm actually playing, this Thursday I was playing Purple Luffy, testing it out, trying to get more practice with it, where Lucci is usually my main deck, so Grant's getting some practice for us in there. We'll play Kuzan to draw a card on his 4 Don turn, which means, Daniel is on the play, Grant on the draw. Swing 6 into Grant, but he will just Suru out of it for 2k. Uses Ice Age and Brook with his 4 remaining Don, so Daniel getting the KO onto Kuzan, and that's really important. Whenever you see Kuzan, that's just like a glaring character, and I feel like I have to delete it as fast as possible so he doesn't get so much cost reduction every turn. Grant on his 6 Don turn has 4 cards in trash so far, so not close enough to play that Tempest Kick. He does have a Who's Who, so you can Who's Who the Brook after the KO. So 6 into life, Dan will counter with a 2k, and there's Who's Who, trash a card to KO a 3 cost. So well done by Grant there, not only KOing a character but getting closer to 8 or closer to 10 cards in the trash. So next turn, if he was to either counter out of anything this turn or a character goes to the trash, next turn his Tempest Kick will be online for now. He will be at 10 cards there. So we're going to swing 7 at life and smartly adding the Khalifa and Helmeppo to the trash to get to 10, but also getting Helmeppo in the trash is really important. Back-to-back Ice Age Brooks for Daniel to KO Who's Who before he can ever get an attack. So Daniel doing just as good of a job of KOing Grant's characters here in this early game. Now Grant is on the Gecko Moria Don turn. He does have one in his hand. The question is, what do you want to do with it? You could swing with Lucci first to bring him down, to bring Brook down to a 2 cost, or potentially to bring Helmeppo down to a 1 cost, and then play Suru Lucci from your trash off of Gecko Moria. But looks like a tough call for Grant with only a couple cards in hand this turn. You want to save those Tempest Kicks for a higher value target, right? So Lucci swings 5 at life, -1 onto the Brook. So Brook and Helmeppo are both 2 costs right now. There's a Tempest Kick to draw a card. I'm not sure who he gave the -3 to. I think it was the Brook. And then you can spend 3 to play Brook right now. Or you can hard cast Rob Lucci from hand. We saw Grant does have a Rob Lucci. Hard cast 2 cost and 0 cost, and that is perfectly done from Grant. So the Soap Sheep, Jack, and Tempest Kick are going back. Looks like putting the 2 Kuzans back, I like that decision, because very seldomly are you going to be able to actually play Kuzan off of Gecko, unless you're so far ahead. It's more of a win more decision, and putting those Kuzans back keeps the amount of CP cards in the trash healthy, because this deck can struggle when you play Spandine into Lucci if you don't have enough CP cards there for Lucci to get back, to put in the back, or for Spandine to put back at the bottom of your deck, as I say that there. So Grant playing pretty well there. Does have the wasted Don from not playing a 3 cost or anything. Daniel will Tempest Kick, bringing Rob Lucci down to a 1 cost, drawing a card as well. We get that trash. I think Daniel's trash is a little bit bigger than Grant's trash right now, which could be a factor because he has more options available to him. Grant doesn't have a Rob Lucci in the trash, but if Daniel kills it this turn, he will gain 1 there, and that's going to be Tempest Kick again, making Rob Lucci a 0 cost, -2 cost, if you want. If the game doesn't go negative like that, but if you want to look at it that way, 2 Tempest Kicks dropped onto the Lucci. It's going to be an 8K swing at life. Grant would have to give 2K counter in hand. I don't think he will. Yep, so we'll just take that down to 3 life. And a Rob Lucci from Daniels, and no Brook or no Who's Who or anything. Just the Rob Lucci, putting 3 cards back into the deck. Grant wanted to see what cards Daniel had access to in his trash to compare. Since they both have the same leader, they both know what options are available to each other, right? So Grant wants to know, does he have a Spandine? Does he have Rebecca? Does he have Helmeppo? Does he have Lucci, right? Things that are important to see there. That's going to be the 9-cost Kaido. Huge play. Activate main. The turn Kaido is played. If you trash a card from your hand, KO a 6 cost or less on the opponent's side and make them trash a card. So Daniel has to lose a 2K in that spot, going down to 4 cards in hand. However, he will regain a card thanks to taking the life. So Grant is up 3-2 in the life count right now in this Rob Lucci mirror match. It'll be 1 for Tempest Kick into Kaido, bringing him to a 6 cost. So kudos to Daniel finding 3 Tempest Kicks so far in this game. Feels like sometimes you're not really able to play your Tempest Kicks at the right times, where you just like kind of don't find them or maybe trash them on your Lucci swings. Now Grant does have access to the trash. He sees the Lucci is in there. He sees the Helmeppo is in there. I don't know if a Rebecca is in there at this point for Daniel, so that's going to be important to know. The Spandam, he either takes a Khalifa for a 2K or his 4th Tempest Kick of the game, and it will be the Tempest Kick. Having all of that Don remaining means you can Tempest Kick again, bringing Kaido down to 3, and then you would have 7 Don left for a Jack if Daniel has a Jack in hand. So there's the Tempest Kick, bringing it down to 3, draws a card. Does he draw into the Jack here for 7 Don? Maybe a Lucci, maybe a Who's Who. Rob Lucci swings 9 at life, which is going to be a lot. It's pretty heavy for him to try to counter out of, so Grant decides not to, because that'd be a lot of cards out of his hand. And then hard cast Spandine from the hand. Usually most people only play Spandine out of the trash, but smartly done by Daniel to Spandine from hand, which gets a Lucci out from your trash, KOing the now 2-cost Kaido. So Daniel pretty much spent his entire turn he's been his entire turn getting rid of that Kaido, so Kaido never got to attack in this game, and he also took a life, evening the life count at 2 apiece here. Great job by Daniel on that turn, regaining the momentum, because now Grant has no characters on the board. He has 10 Don available. There is inherently you can KO brand new with a Rob Lucci play. 1 counter down would KO the Spandine as well. Really depends on what Grant has available. You can also swing into Rob Lucci, because Daniel might not want to give up a couple of cards in hand. Grant's looking at his trash, seeing a bunch of 2Ks in there. I think at least 3 Khalifas, 2 Who's Who's are in there. He has a Jack as well as a Brook in hand, 2 Ice Ages. So you could Ice Age Brook for the Rob Lucci play. That's an option. And then if he had a Rebecca, he does have a Spandine here, so say, hey, that's a good idea. Why don't I just do the same thing to you? And Ice Age Rob Lucci, and then KO Lucci and Spandam with the Spandine. You could also, it's a tough call. You could swing a huge amount into Rob Lucci. Because I think Grant might be concerned about giving Daniel more cards in hand, because I think he has 1 more card than Grant does. So you could swing a whole bunch, 7 extra Don, 13K into Lucci. Daniel obviously not going to counter out of that. And then spend that last 3 Don on, minus 1 cost to Spandine. And then spend that last 3 Don on the Spandine, get the Lucci out of your trash. And then you would have been able to clear Daniel's entire board that way, but it looks like instead you're going to swing 8 into life and get the cards out of Daniel's hand, and then gain the big body on the board, KOs Rob Lucci as well. So really smart play from Grant, understanding, Spandine and Spandam, father and son, they're not they're not too big of threats right now. So I might as well gain, an 8K body on the field that's difficult for them to get the KO into. Like, sure, Rob Lucci is close as a 5K leader, but they would have to attach a lot of Don onto Span 9 and Span Nim to try to KO the Jack with an attack. Now on Daniel's turn, still has 10 Don available to him. 6K swing from Rob Lucci leader into life. -1 onto the Jack, so he's now at 10 cost. Suru used to counter out for Grant, so it keeps him at 2 life. Ice Age is used as well, so that's now -6 onto Jack because he's an 11 cost. And if he has Helmeppo, so so he became a 5 cost. Helmeppo became a 2, made him a 2 cost, and Rob Lucci gets the KO there. So Daniel doesn't even need to swing with his little guys to get rid of the Jack, just doing the patented Gecko Helmeppo Lucci combo, taking out an 11 cost in a Jack on that turn with the help of Ice Age. Really strong, effective use of Don by Daniel, knowing he only had 2 available, and one of them had to be an Ice Age, so might as well swing 6 with your leader, get a 2K out of Grant's hand, and then play the Ice Age, and then do the Gecko combo. So very efficient gameplay from both of these players, in this Lucci mirror match. We have to wonder, are there any other cards that differ? Grant already played his Kaido. Most people don't play more than 1 Kaido, so it can be hard to KO this Gecko Moria easily. Rob Lucci will swing 6 at life, -1 onto Gecko, so he is a 7 cost. I think Grant does have an Ice Age in hand. He's going to play the Ice Age, presumably onto Gecko, bring it down to a 2 cost, and then it's going to be Gecko looking for Helmeppo and Lucci. So, okay. So Gecko became a 2 cost, -3 from Helmeppo into Rob Lucci's character. So Grant gets to KO Gecko Moria and Rob Lucci characters in the same turn. That is why Ice Age is such a strong card. For 1 Don, getting 5 cost reduction is just absolutely massive. And now I feel like Grant's in a pretty good spot, since his Rob Lucci and his Gecko Moria are on the field right now, where Daniel spent a lot of resources. He only has 2 cards in hand right now. Anyway, he's actually played all 4 Tempest Kicks as well, so no more access to drawing a card and getting cost reduction at the same time out of it for Daniel. See what he has, those 2 cards in hand. You can look in the trash to see there's the Helmeppo into Helmeppo, a little Helmeppo battle going in favor of Daniel, but actually just helps Grant. If he has another Gecko, you can just play Helmeppo next turn if Grant finds another Gecko. So not the end of the world to put Helmeppo back in Grant's trash. Is Daniel counting out his Don properly, splitting it in 5 each right now. Has 9 available as he will swing 6K on Rob Lucci. Effect. Ooh, loses a Gecko and a Jack for that 6K. Does Grant counter out of it with a 2K if he has a 2K in hand? Grant's trying to see, okay, he has 9 Don available. What is he flexing on this turn? Is it a Kaido? Is it, something else? Is it a Gecko Helmeppo Lucci play or something? So he decides, okay, I'll take the hit. Presumably that Daniel's not going to swing with the rest of his characters on this turn. Another 1 Don for the Ice Age. We've had so many Ice Ages between both of these players here in this game. And 4 Don for Rebecca. Rebecca's going to get Lucci back and then plays his last 4 Don for. Okay, so I was a little confused at first. It looked like he played Lucci off of Rebecca, but no, he got Lucci back from the trash, had 4 Don remaining, played Lucci to pop the Gecko Moria on Grant's end. So no cards in hand, it looks like, for Daniel. So he does have the one blocker, and Grant doesn't. Not like Grant has rush or anything, so he can't win. Can't win the game this turn because of Rebecca and because of the 2 life. So Grant, with only a couple cards in his hand as well as 1 life, has to be feeling the pressure right now to get rid of some of these characters on Daniel's end, as well as playing a potential playing Rebecca or Sabo on your side of the field. I think Sabo would be huge right now if he had it. Not sure if he has access to it. Because then it would prevent your team from getting KO'd the next turn, and that's pretty much how Daniel has been getting back into this game, by KO after KO every turn. That's how the black decks work, right? So if he could find a Sabo, that'd be very important for Grant, but might not have access to it in his 4-card hand. Grant's deliberating, thinking it might swing 5 from Lucci. The only character that's tapped is Helmeppo, so you can swing 5 into Helmeppo, and Daniel's not going to fight over that. Gets a character off. Yep, there it is. -1 onto Rob Lucci. Trashes the Lucci in a Spandam. And Grant still has 10 Don available with all of his cards in hand. Daniel takes the Helmeppo, gives him back into the trash, and now Lucci is a 3-cost on Daniel's end. So if Grant has a Jack, he can just activate it and KO Rob Lucci on this turn. Is that as beneficial as KOing the Rebecca? Is my question. Because you could have put -1 onto Rebecca and played Jack in the same way, if that is what Grant has in the same. I'm not sure what he has. He could have potentially Tempest Kick Brooke. It would also get the KO onto Rob Lucci. We know he does have a Brooke in his hand. We can see that Brooke is the first card for Grant. So it's a pretty tough call here, because on the crackback, if Grant doesn't take out a couple bodies this turn with only one life and no blockers on the field, that would be pretty rough. So going to play Gecko first. See what he wants out of the trash. Remember, Rob Lucci on Daniel's end is a 3-cost right now. So that's going to be Helmeppo, and is there a Rebecca? He has the Spandine. Looks like there's no Rebecca in the trash for Grant. So it's going to have to be the Spandine play. So Helmeppo minuses Lucci to 0 cost. He's going to put 3 CP cards back. For Rob Lucci to KO Spandam. Yeah, he pointed to Spandine, but Spandine's a 3-cost, so has to KO Spandam with the Rob Lucci, putting 3 more cards back. So 6 cards from Grant on this turn, going back to the bottom of his deck. And with 2 remaining Don, going to swing 8k at life. Daniel takes that hit. So 2 minutes left in the round, actually. 2 minutes left in the round, and we're very close to the end of it, as both players only have 1 life left apiece. It might be very difficult for Daniel to try to go for game this turn. I mean, the incentive is there. Grant does not have a blocker out, and very likely because of the 2 Luccis and the Gecko on Grant's end, as well as only needing 2 Don apiece for Helmeppo and Spandine the next turn. Like Grant could have 6 attacks going your way, and you only have 1 Rebecca. So I do think there's a tempting thought to try to go for game here. You would just have to be perfectly correct. That's the only scary thought, because Grant definitely has counter in his hand right now. So Daniel will look at Grant's trash, see what he has available to bring back. See how many 2Ks crucially have been played, too, because Daniel already saw 3 Who's in there. I believe there's 2 Khalifas, as well as there's a Suru in there. So most decks probably run from 10 to 12 2Ks in them, right? So Daniel trying to do the math. What are the odds that Grant has multiple 2K counters in hand? And we know he actually got 1 Khalifa back. I don't think Daniel is aware of the other Khalifa in hand, his other 2K counter in hand. So pretty sure we just hit time on the stream, meaning that this is turn 0 for Daniel. And for those who don't know how time works in One Piece, when it's a 30-minute round timer, once time is hit, the players have 3 turns. The active player is turn 0. Then it goes opponent 1, active player 2, opponent 3. And at the end of those 3 turns, you determine who has more life. And there's a bunch of other tiebreakers as well. Or 5 minutes, but if the 3 turns don't get played out in 5 minutes. That's the other way that the round can end. So it's going to be a huge swing from Spandine here into Rob Lucci's life, into Grant. There's going to be 2, 3, 4K out on that turn. And I think Daniel sees the writing on the wall. With only 5 down left, you can swing or 4 down left. You can put as much of it as you want onto the Rob Lucci, but with no access to rush, he's just going to be fine. So that will be a 7K swing into Rob Lucci. Daniel plays the Manchuri actually to get a card back. Will get the Khalifa in his hand, so Grant is aware that Daniel has at least 1 2K in his hand, and he can gain more counter off of that last life trigger. So if I'm Grant, I swing. Oh, okay. There's the 6-cost Brook trashing Rebecca, and now Daniel has no blockers. At this point, you know that Gecko can't, or you can't block out a Gecko's 9K swing. Helmeppo swings for 5. Spandam swinging into Manchuri. 7K into Lucci. And, he just played the Brook. It didn't actually matter. He goes, yes, correct. They correct the mistake there. Brook was just played. He was going to get there anyway with 6K on Lucci and 9K on Gecko Moria. So congratulations to Grant winning round 4, winning the Rob Lucci mirror match. Really well played by both players, honestly. And we will have a round 5 since the other undefeated player won their round 4 matchup. So thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for that. Like and subscribe to the channel if you want more One Piece action, and get excited for our round 5 matchup.